My name is Matthew Schmitt. I'm an artist, sort of label owner behind House of Schmitt Records.
Lunch with Doug, a decade strong, over 1,000 episodes, featuring some of the most timeless interviews on the planet.
Today's episode of Lunch with Doug is made possible by the American Legion, Post Number 2, 402 East Cherry Street in Nevada, Missouri. Open 365 days a year with live entertainment Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And John's Barbershop at 121 West Cherry Street. Walk-ins only, no appointment needed. Open Tuesday through Friday, 8 a.m. till 6:30 p.m. I'm Dangerous Doug Harper, your host. Thank you for spending your lunchtime with me. Welcome back to another episode of Lunch with Doug. Today, as promised, Matthew Schmitt of House of Schmitt Records, LLC with me. I've talked to you before, Matthew, but just wanted to catch up with you again. I know you're doing some great things in the area with music and everything. So let's touch, first and foremost, let's touch again, just for the new viewers that haven't seen the other episode interview, kind of give us an overview of who you are, what you do.
Okay, well, my name is Matthew Schmitt. I'm an artist, sort of label owner behind House of Schmitt Records. I work, I'm one of the artists. The other artist is Indy, who is my partner as well. We make music, we make content, for entertainment, kind of from a spiritual angle, as well as we publish it. We work with a publisher to get it out there to whomever and everyone we possibly can. We recently released a record, an AI record for indie. And I know AI is sort of controversial right now in terms of, that being a viable music thing. A couple things. Number one, as far as Indy's record goes, she'd set the moods and composed the lyrics. So, it's valid for copyright because the lyrics are original. Okay. I know some AI platforms, it can just do it on its own, but we still incorporate, organic elements with the synthetic elements as well. And that's not to say that as a label, we don't do organic music. We do. We just, we're choosing to do anything and everything we can in terms of ways to make music with that is within our capabilities.
Sure, yeah. Sounds good. I have heard actually you've done there was a previous record that was done, and then there was a reissue that was a remaster, AI remaster.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. We've also used AI to remaster our tracks, or I'm using it to remaster my tracks and hers too. Initially, when I put the music up to streaming platforms, I didn't have a real good way to master it, and I know that a mastering studio can cost quite a bit of money to master a track. Well, AI does it far cheaper. Anybody would use as a publisher, if they work with me or somebody independently, your publisher might have something, an app there where they can actually remaster, where your music can be mastered just as good as a professional studio with artificial intelligence. And that's a lot more common these days. The argument is on, like, for instance, Spotify. Well, they're not sure about AI artists releasing actually AI created tracks, but simple things like mix downs and masters using AI to do those things, they're 100% on board with that sort of thing. But it really, in my case, has improved the quality of the music we make. In terms of using the AI, and it's been efficient because we are really a low budget operation. So, we don't really have anyone backing us at this point, and we're just still, doing content creation, nor have we, reached a certain level of streams where the back end of, financial back end becomes relevant. But, we are plugging along, doing what we can to make the most of with what we have. And that's one of the most important things we can do is, any artist out there, whatever you got, if you have a desire and a love to make music, if you wear it on your sleeve, you do everything you possibly can within your capabilities to get it out there. And I understand that as an artist that's been working on my music for decades, you know, um, don't quit till the miracle happens, And as long as if you put your love and you write it into your narrative, you'll experience some measurable amount of success, based upon what you're willing to do, and based upon how hard you put work into it. Um, you know, the argument's made. Well, the AI music will, give access to mediocre artists to labels and that sort of thing. Well, yes, but that argument existed prior to AI as well. I remember people complaining back in the day, well, why does so and so, have a top 10 hit? They suck. It's old news. It's old news that people, complain that, somebody gets on the radio or whatever and they don't. It's all about the work you put into it, and it's very competitive as well. It is, but you're not really supposed to compete with the other artists. You're supposed to compete and make yourself better every day of the way, every step of the way, as you go.
For sure. Totally understand that. Yeah, and you're an artist yourself as well, right? You've got some albums out. Tell us about some of your stuff you've created and released.
Well, basically, for what I have out, it's under the, profile Matthew James Schmitt. That's my full name. I didn't go with I decided to use my real name to publish because no one else has that name, at least in terms of music. So I know stick out that way. But as far as the music goes, I have a number of EPs and singles available on streaming platforms. And I think all but two of them are remastered as of today, as of yet. Some albums that I've had that I've got up. One, for instance, is Skills. It's kind of a little bit of a darker one, but it's actually quite entertaining. I feel, the EP Skills. Um, you know, uh, it's where I really started getting into the electronic side of things, as opposed to just playing guitars and basses and that sort of things. And I incorporate both, with any of the music. I, either do strictly, I can do all electronic, or I'll incorporate instruments in with the electronic side of things. The most latest release is called Fall of the Republic, which has to do with the political situation in the country. Some people might argue, well, keep politics out of it, but it's like I'm just writing about what I see happen. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to go into all that, but it's actually it's an electronic album. It's very intense. There's not a whole lot of lyrics to it, but you get the point if you listen to it. It's going to be uh, very, very entertaining. I really put a lot of work into that one, and so I'm just grateful to get to do what I do. I'm grateful I get to promote my music. I'm grateful I get to make my music. I'm grateful I get to be part of the music collective.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great. The where we're at in the dynamic of things in the music world now for independent music, it's really kind of incredible that we can have access to such great distribution and all these things. So and then I guess that points me to the next question. If somebody doesn't really, there's a lot of people that don't understand how to get into that. That's one of the services that maybe you offer as well, helping people get distributing when they don't really understand all that, or some people don't even want to. They just don't want to mess with it. They want to focus on the creative only, and get someone else to handle that stuff. And you can do that.
Yes, I'm willing. Whether somebody works with me or not, I'm willing to consult anybody. I'm willing to help anybody that wants a leg up, that wants to understand how the things work. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than willing to take those. You can email me at House of Schmitt Records, spelled Haus of Schmitt, SCHMITT Records at gmail.com. I'm willing to, share whatever information I have provided to provide. And it's like, I'm not going to sit there and charge people unless there's a demand where it's like, it really takes my time, a lot of my time, to answer all the questions and stuff. But if anybody is, if there's an actual curiosity out there, how I got all this going, how I got all this started, you know, um, I'm willing to share and help. And it doesn't really hurt me in the sense of what I do. If if I provide information, you know, willingly to anyone, because like I said, I've already got a ton of music published. So given time, I'll that will, on the back end of things, I will see growth and prosper through that. So, and I already am. But as far as like other people, I'd be more than happy to share with anyone, how to get all this stuff going, how to make it work, and how they can benefit, from recording and publishing. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Do you ever do any like seminars or anything like that?
As of yet, I've not been asked to do one, or have I experienced a demand that people want me to, talk or have a seminar or a speech. But if that would occur, I'd be definitely willing to do something like that. Yes.
And they can, of course, reach out to you the same contact information as before.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Email. I'm not gonna give my phone number, personal phone number out right this time. But like, if I get to know you and I trust you, then yeah, I'll exchange phone number. And part of where I got to where I am with music and how well, like for instance, it's not an ego or an arrogance thing, but I am very proficient at, nylon acoustic guitar, and that took years of practice, to get to where you are. So, I wouldn't let, that discourage anyone that wants to get into music, or, even with like the artificial intelligence sort of thing. You can still learn the instruments, and there's value in that. There's a lot of value in it. So, just because AI is out there doesn't mean don't play an instrument. And if you can't play an instrument, that doesn't mean you don't try AI. It's all of it.
Different roads get to the same place, right?
Exactly.
For sure, for sure. So, what are your immediate plans in the future? What do you got going coming up?
We're gonna, wait till the sun melts the snow, and I know we had talked about some things like in terms of performance, and kind of part of the reason. Well, this is a side note. I would love to get out and play live more in the spring. You know what I mean? As the snow melts, as the cold months, dwell. That's something I really want to do, is perform more, because I haven't really done that much over the last couple of years, as I've been focusing more on the recording and writing and that sort of thing. But I do want to get more into performing, and if that means speeches, seminars, that sort of thing, to help others, yeah, that too. But I'm an artist myself, and I love to talk.
Right. Now, how do you perform live, just you and your guitar, or how do you do things?
As right now, that's the capability. In the future, if the budget, lets me, then I can get more into electronic elements and be more sort of like for lack of a better example, an Ed Sheeran type of thing, where you're, kind of operating electronic elements with organic elements as well.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, and I'm not, I mean, um, and part of my promise I kept to myself wherever life took me to, keep making music. That was a promise I kept to myself. And part of that was, even if, I wasn't playing with the band, I was still going to keep making music, keep writing songs, all this sort of thing. And I look back at like my catalog, and like, I'm absolutely amazed that what I did for myself in terms of the commitment I made to myself, as an artist. And I would encourage anyone, especially young artists, if that's what's in your heart, keep making the music that you love to make. And I know you do the same thing. You have quite a big catalog yourself, and that's awesome. That is awesome. I think that's absolutely great. Like anybody that, really has that in their heart, that the creative thing, that is so awesome that people express that. And as well as I do, it's hard. It's hard to keep it going. But, we get up every day, we put our best foot forward, and we keep doing what we, what we, want and love to do.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's always a pocket of people that appreciate it, and some of them do better than others. But that's with every artist, big and small. Some songs just do better than others, and but
Sure.
there's
Sure.
there's pockets of, and there's different things in each or different kind of personalities to each artist. As they have their, maybe
Right.
they have a softer side, maybe they have a more, like you said, like a political side, maybe they have a religious side. It's not always, each song's not always what do you call it, pigeonholed into a certain thing. It kind of can go different directions, or from album to album too.
Right. I know the tendency is to want to, pigeonhole artists, but like, yeah, try to avoid that as long as possible. That's, you know, eventually you will get labeled, but but if you're really authentic, in what you do and aren't trying to sound like anyone specific, it's harder for the industry to do that. But eventually, eventually, if you're selling it, you're going to be categorized as something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of one of the really things that's awesome about being an independent artist too. You kind of do get that kind of creative go ahead, creative say so to speak. There's not like there's not as much pressure to say, hey, you've got to do this kind of thing. We want this.
Well, yeah, when I was younger, in my 20s, maybe late teens, um, I had, it was still what I wanted to do then, and I'm grateful it didn't happen then. It didn't, because if it happens earlier in life, it's harder to get out of being pigeonholed into something. If it happens to you earlier in life, it may seem all great and stuff at once, but still on the back end of things, it's going to be harder to break out of the mold or what you're identified as, or whatever identity you choose for yourself. You know, um, as well as I got offered a deal like when I was 27. At the time, it wasn't what I wanted because I didn't want to lose control of what came to my mind to an arbitrary entity. So I declined the deal when I was 27. I'm glad I did. You know, but now I am. At the time, it was a rough. My 30s were pretty rough, but like now in my 40s coming out of it, it's like I am so grateful, that I've made the choices in my life that I have. And even on the front of the life where things get very difficult, at times they were, but you know, that's just it's you keep doing what you love to do, regardless of what your circumstances or anyone's. If you love music, you're going to keep making music, whether you have success in the beginning or later on. You're still going to do it. That's a promise. If you love music, it's a promise you keep to yourself. You know what I mean? You make it to yourself, not keep to yourself. You make it to yourself, and there's a lot of power in that. Because we all really get to choose our identity in that respect. What we do. You know, so what we're good at is basically what we put into ourselves. So
Exactly, exactly, exactly. I love it, man.
I'm not, I know I sound like a motivational speaker, but like, hey, I'm out here to help people, like, give people hope. It's not easy, but you're going to love it.
Exactly, exactly. Well, and I think there's kind of two missions of this. And now as we move into season 10, this is season 10. We're in 10 years of this thing. We kind of have, two sides of these interviews. We talk a little bit about business, talk shop a little bit, and we talk about artists and whatnot. But I think a lot of times what I see when I get feedback, the most feedback I get is people, they just say, "Oh yeah, I learned something, I get inspired, and because of this, I went ahead and took the plunge to do something." So that's worth a whole lot. So many people say to me, that's one of my things that makes me happy at the end of the day is just I got nothing out of it. It wasn't like I had any vested interest in it, but I've gotten so many people started into music, and then years later, and sometimes I don't even remember getting them started, and they were like, "Oh, you got me my first gig. You got me into the industry." I was like, "Wow, I was the one, huh? Okay, great." But they'll thank you, so much because then their whole life changed that, at that moment. So, but you don't really
That's
realize that till years later, until you hear that.
that's great. You were able to be that access point. You've been that access point for a lot of people. That is so great. And that speaks volumes about you as well. And what how you've helped others as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think you've got that same kind of personality. You're doing your label kind of side thing, your artist kind of thing, and it's a label artist owned kind of musician for musician kind of situation. That's really, really awesome and powerful. If there was an artist, or maybe not an artist yet, somebody that's wanting to, pursue creative in whether it's music or whatever, what kind of advice can you give them to kind of get over I would say, I don't, maybe it's a fear of even starting, sometimes, but maybe what are the obstacles that would be in their way? Give us some wisdom.
Sure. Let's say you're a kid and you're in school and you're having trouble fitting in somewhere. Try band. Number one, try band. They take pretty much anybody and everybody, like all the riffraff, all the misfits. And if that's what you are, good. Number two, um, learn an instrument. Pick an instrument. It doesn't matter if you're good, bad. Just start making noise. Number two, start making noise. Number three, do unto others as they would have them do unto you. With whatever you do, if it's music, um, be kind, basically. Be kind to others, and um, especially if you get good, especially if you get really good. Don't let it get to your head. You know, Number four, be humble. You know, um, Sometimes it's a process getting to that point. As a lot of us when we're younger, we were more ego driven, but ultimately, whatever the ego does, your heart's going to go through that. It's going to see through, the ego and that sort of thing. And number five, take an hour every day just to play your instrument or sing or program, whatever you want to do. Just take an hour. If you work another job, you're working another job 12 hours somewhere a day or whatever, or 8 hours a day, whatever. Take an hour to work on your craft. It doesn't happen overnight. As far as where I'm at, I'm 46. Okay. You know, um, you know, Taylor Swift got access as a teenager. Am I upset about that or jealous? No, but that's where she was, and she worked for. She still worked through that. You know what I mean? Getting in late, but I have a lot of backstory in what I do. So don't let any of that deter you. If you love it, you're going to see it through to the end, and by that I mean it's going to be your life's narrative.
Fantastic advice, man. I can hear so many good things in that, especially that humble one. That's
Yeah.
sometimes, we come off as artists, we have a certain amount of ego. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like you have to get up in front of people, so you have to have that. But
Sure.
but the way you, like you say, the way you kind of, treat the other people that you're working with, and being on a level of we're all here to do something. We're all here to make something great happen. That's what our objective is. So we want to be excellent at what we do, strive for
Yeah.
excellence, together. It's great advice. Great advice. So tell me, what's the question I didn't ask you? Tell me what you would like everyone to know that's watching that today.
Just without naming them all, like artists that I've worked with, um, you know, um, there's a couple bear in mind that had a major influence on me in my life that I've worked with. I'll mention, you know, um, one in particular way back when. Um, you know, I had a good experience with an old band, Fault Line, way back when. The band was named Fault Line. Two people in particular, Kelly Slinkard and Brett Odell. They're big influences. I as well as another gentleman in Kansas City back in the day named Dylan Paul Mathis. These are people I've worked with that were big influences in my life in terms of, these are people. What I'm saying is, let the artists you work with influence you as well. It doesn't have to be just, the band you're watching, it's not part of what you do, but let the people you work with help you as well as, as well as, you shoot for the stars. So I just wanted to highlight, just a few people that, I had the privilege to play with, that were, important and still.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I definitely think that I like you.
Yeah.
You really hit the nail on the head there with the influences, because the people that you think would be influences aren't always the ones that were more influential. Like the famous people, I learned how to play their songs, so they helped me understand song theory and stuff like that. But they didn't really. They're not the ones that got me in the door or helped me out. And really made stuff happen in my career.
Sobriety is a good thing. It really is. In the end, I understand, part of it is the party, but also when you've been through that and like you still have the love for music, it's, that's a big thing, especially for us older ones.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, I'm not going to go into specifics, but it's important. It's important to keep your mind sharp.
Yeah. Well, it's important to the performance of the body health and stuff like that too. And just being on point, being on business like during the whole thing. Like you said, you do have to be part of the party most of the time, but yeah, you still have to be professional in a different way as well. So yeah, totally get that. Totally get that, Matthew. Yeah, man. Hey, well, I hate to run. We're going to stay in touch. We'll have you on the show again and stuff. We'll stay in checking in with you. Give us your information again real fast to help them get to see you guys online, your stuff.
Okay. Well, there's a presence on Spotify and other streaming platforms. We are under my artist name, which is Matthew James Schmitt, spelled Matthew. James, James, and Schmitt, Schmitt, as well as the other artist is Indie, Endie. And then we also have our email, House of Schmitt Records at gmail.com, which is HAUS of Schmitt, Schmitt, records, plural with an S, at gmail.com. If you want to get a hold of us or reach out to us, so. And I want to thank you for the interview, Doug. And once you're off the record, I wanted to talk to you briefly after the interview too.
Sure, absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate you being on the show today, and we'll see you or we'll listen to you on Spotify and all that good stuff. Thanks again, Matthew.
Right. Yep. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Ready for something, an urgency that is new. And I've seen the world, now that play is through. Another door is open, another life has passed. Another victory is calling, another song that will last. Broken hearts that are mending, broken promises fulfilled. Broken dreams can be pieced back together, now that void is filled. One heart, one mind, one soul, one life to live. One heart, one man, one soul, one life to live. Lesson learned in silence, wisdom carved in pain. The echoes of the struggle now sing a sweet refrain. The shadows that once lingered have faded in the light. And every step I take now, boldly true and right. One heart, one mind, one soul, one life to live. One heart, one mind, one soul, one life to live. One heart, one mind, one soul, one life to live. One heart, one mind, one soul, one life to live. The fire that once flickered now burns with steady flame. No longer chasing fortune, no longer seeking fame. I stand upon the moment, the future in my hand, a voice among the many, a soul that dares to stand. One heart, one mind, one soul, one life to live. One heart, one mind, one soul, one life to live. One heart, one mind, one soul, one life to live.